I want to talk about Arror and Kimwarer dams. I want to talk as a Kenyan who has a birth certificate, who has an ID, who has a voter's card, and who pays his taxes, although most of it are indirect taxes. I also want to talk about Kimwarer and Arror being among the people who attended the meeting that gave birth to Takwel Gorge. I want also to talk as somebody who much later, in the early 90s, I was the Deputy District Security Intelligence Officer in JI-TENGE, meaning that Arror and Kimwarer was within my area. I will start with the Takwel Gorge. When Takwel Gorge was being constructed, I have not gone there. I've never visited that place in this century. But what I see on TV, I'm even shocked. Takwel Gorge was being constructed in a desert at a place where you could not imagine that nowadays it's a lake, people fish there, and they even have boats like those of Uhuru Park where you ride just the way people ride at Uhuru Park. It was 1985 late. Suddenly, I'm not sure whether it was January or February 86, but I think it is late 1985, where a meeting was called at Marich Pass. The meeting was called by the District Development Committee, together with the Sub-District Development Committee of Sigor, with KVDA and the Game Department. The Game Department later became the KWS. There was a problem. The meeting was chaired by Mr. Kamau, who was the DO1. He took over from Mr. Obondo Kajumbi as the DO1. Mr. Peter Kamau, he is a DO1 and acting district commissioner, chaired that meeting. In attendance, there was also Wilfred Gatti Kerario, the district officer, Sigor. I can remember there was a Luo district warden from Kapenguri. I can see his face, but I do not remember his name. I do remember the Nasalot game warden was a Kisi who was stationed at Sigor. The problem was Nasalot Game Reserve did not want Takwel Gorge to be constructed. But the KVDA wanted. We sat down. KVDA had no point at all, because they were saying that they wanted to make an HEP station, and the HEP station required water to be filled in. It took 3 months. It took 9 months. And for the water to be drawn out, it took 3 months. So most of the time, the water, the HEP would be non-functioning. When they argued, and also we also knew that the money for the Takwel Gorge had been used for Sondu Miriu and Nabuyole in Webuye, but Sondu Miriu in Kisumu, near Koru. So all the points pointed out that we did not need it there and we had other places. But Nicholas Biwott had said publicly that he was saying that Kalenjins were like donkeys and Kikuyus and other tribes were like horses. So horses cannot compete with the donkeys. Horses have to be tied so that the donkeys catch up. Another thing that Nasalot Game Reserve were debating on was on that there was migration of animals from Nasalot to South Turkana National Park. So with a lot of vehicular movement and a lot of blasting of baruti explosions, animals will go away. And I remember one joking that once you have made your dam, I don't know how we can convince the animals to come back. The whole debate, Takwel was to die. And then somebody from KVDA just stood up proudly and said he is going to talk to his minister, leave everything to the ministers, responsive minister. The Minister for Wildlife was Matthew Ogutu from somewhere in Siaya, and the Minister for Regional Development was Biwott, so we knew how it was going to happen. I want to state here and now that any mega project in Kenya, including the flyover, this superhighway from James Gichuru to the airport, if anybody will cheat you that there is no bribery, I think we will stop bribery not during my lifetime. So let us just accept it as part of our problems and live with it. Arror and Kimwarer was a viable thing. It was done to punish Ruto. But the funny thing is, when it was stopped, already some government had committed itself. And money had been given to a constructor. So even if that thing doesn't work, already money has been lost that way. It is better to pay 300 shillings for something that is 100 than to deposit there 70 shillings and then it goes that way. Makiu, that company, immediately after the government withdrew the Arror and Kimwarer, that company went bankrupt. If we would not have withdrawn Arror and Kimwarer, the government would have sued the foreign government that guaranteed that company. So our money went down the drain. You may have noticed that there is a problem which I do not understand, and maybe the people who are technically knowledgeable can explain, that in Rift Valley, water is shooting out from the ground. So I think in such places we should have as much water, as much dams as possible, even especially for livestock and plantation. So this thing of stopping things to score political is bad, and even the incoming government should not follow it. Let us leave everything to the technicians or the knowledgeable people. Thank you.